Good afternoon. Jamie, you there?
Oh, hey, I'm here.
Fantastic. Tony, glad to have you here. Leslie, glad to see you. All right. Everybody's right on time. So hopefully we'll have a few other stragglers join us.
I
But
hope.
I'm going to go ahead and just jump in with both feet and start talking. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, of course.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So our topic today is building a great listing presentation. And guys, this is just such an important part of what we do, and for a multitude of reasons. And you probably heard me talk about some of this recently, but I'm going to rehash it. If we're out there and we're looking for a client, which one would we rather have, a buyer or a seller?
A seller.
A seller. And why would we prefer the seller over the buyer?
I feel like you have more control.
That's a possibility. Okay, I can see that. So I think a lot of that's in your scripts and how you set things up. So I think you can have control on both sides. But for a seller, okay, are we typically going to spend as many hours working with a seller as a buyer?
No.
No. And odds are it's going to be about a third of the time, maybe half the time that we spend with a buyer. The second reason we like it, when you're working with a buyer, who knows about it?
Who know
Or the
what?
buyer.
That's right, Tony. You and the buyer. When you're working with a buyer, the only people that know about it are you and the buyer. When you're working with a seller, who knows about it?
The seller plus all the people that see the sign plus all the people that see the listing.
That see the listing, everybody that sees your Facebook messaging around it. You know, when you have a listing, you've got a story to tell, right? You've got things to share. You can talk about your open house. You can talk about your listing. You get to say just listed and under contract. You get lots of opportunities to share and build your brand when you're working with a seller that you don't get when you're working with a buyer. Okay. And that helps you with your marketing, that helps you attract other customers. And so having listings is a really nice way to attract buyers. Okay. And so often when we go out and we find a buyer, that's all they are, right? They're just a buyer. When we go find a seller, what are they often also?
A buyer.
A buyer. Okay. That's a lot of reasons to want to target and go after sellers. Okay. So if sellers are that important, how important do you think it is that we have a great listing presentation? Pretty dadgum important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the other thing that I want to say, the listing presentation being so valuable is if you have a good listing presentation, how hard is the close?
Not hard.
It's not hard. It's the natural conclusion to your presentation, right? It's
Yeah.
like, of course you're going to hire me. Okay. So that's one thing. And how much easier is your lead generation? You know, if you knew you had an incredible listing presentation, if you get a chance to sit down in front of somebody, they're going to be wowed by your presentation. Are you worried about if they say, yes, I'd like you to come out to my house?
No.
No. Is anybody a little nervous right now about what if they say yes?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I tell you that to say, this is a focal point. If we can put together a really good listing presentation, It's going to make our lead generation easier. It's going to make our presentation easier, and it's going to make our closing easier. Okay. So I want you guys to put some time and effort and energy into building your listing presentation. And that's one of the big things I want you to understand. There's not a listing presentation. It's your listing presentation. Okay. You have to decide what your story is. Okay. And I love that phrasing. Okay. And here's what I mean by that. Would you be more interested in spending 30 minutes with me and me sharing a bunch of random facts with you? Or would you rather me spend 30 minutes telling you a story?
A story.
Or
A story. People are always more engaged by a story. Okay. So I want you to kind of have that mindset as we think about and build what's a good presentation. A good presentation tells a story. Okay. And who's the main character of that story?
we are.
I don't know
Shouldn't
about
it
that.
be the seller and what?
Yeah.
Should it be the main focal point?
The seller should be the main character of the story. Okay. Do they care about you and your livelihood and how awesome you are?
No.
Or do they care about what you can do for them? How you can help them? How you're going to get their home sold?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's about them. We've got to remember that when we're building that presentation, that they need to be the focal point. They need to be the one that's at the center of that presentation. So what does a good listing presentation look like? Well, so what's included with it? And there's not just one answer to that. That we've got some pre-packaged listing presentations that are a good launching point for you. But I encourage each of you, you're going to have to spend some time personalizing this to you. Okay. And I want to go through some things for you guys to consider. Does this belong in your story? Okay. And where does it belong in your story? And what I mean by where does it belong in your story is the first thing we're going to talk about is I want you to consider you might be writing one book or you might be writing a trilogy. Okay. And we've got to decide what goes where in that story. And it's become really obvious when I click to the next slide what I'm talking about. Oh, actually, it's going to be the slide after this one that I'm talking about. So before we go into our trilogy, let's talk about with the purpose. Why do we want a really good listing presentation? Well, first off, it builds trust, right? Is somebody going to hire you if they don't trust you?
No.
No. And we've got to earn that, right? And we may have family or friends that already have trust with us as an individual. But even with those people, do they have trust in your ability to sell their home? Not necessarily.
Not yet.
Okay. So I want to encourage you guys to remember that even with the people that you're close with and you're like, they're my best friend or they're my mom, of course she's going to use me. Okay. We still want to take them through the whole process. Okay. Because we want them to have confidence in you throughout the transaction. Okay. So building trust and building the relationship. Okay. Those two kind of go hand in hand because as we grow our business, are we often going to sit down with people that aren't in our inner circle?
Yes.
Yeah. We don't have a relationship. Maybe we have a referral from someone that they have a relationship with, but it could be somebody that's responding to something we mailed them. They could be calling from a sign we have in a yard. If they're going to hire us, we've got to establish some level of relationship and some level of trust before they're going to be comfortable signing that bottom line, right? Okay. So what would be necessary for someone to trust you to sell their house?
Knowledge about the neighborhood.
Possibly, but I could know everything about the neighborhood and know nothing about selling homes. So we don't have to dig that deep. The idea is for them to be able to trust us. They need to have some confidence in our ability to get the job done that they're hiring us for. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to do that? What is it that we do for our customers to get their home sold?
Prepare comps.
Comps is going to be a good thing. Yeah, that's part of us showcasing our value is we're showcasing our knowledge of the neighborhood and how pricing and value works. Okay. So that's what I mean by showcasing your value. Okay. That's not telling them how much your commission rate is.
Oh, I
Right.
see. So like what the services we provide, like our marketing, getting clients to come in and look at the home and,
Yeah.
guide them through the process of all the steps.
And when else in the transaction do we have the opportunity to tell them what that is?
At your listing appointment.
It's only at the listing appointment. Okay. And so we want to make sure to include that. The other thing we want to do at the listing appointment and as part of our listing presentation is we want to set the right expectations with our clients. How often does the average person buy or sell a home? Right now. Do you know what the average is?
Every 3 to 5 years? 10?
10 years is the average right now. Has been for the last 4 years. Okay. So if on average it's been 10 years since they bought or sold a home, do they really have a good idea of what to expect in the process?
No.
No, they really don't. And this could be their third time they bought or sold a home, and they may think that they're an expert, but my gosh, if it's been 10 years since they sold their home, has the market changed any? Has technology changed any?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't want them to have surprises through the process. So this is our opportunity to head those off and make sure they know what the landscape is that we're stepping into. And the last thing and the main purpose of the listing presentation is get the listing agreement. Okay. And I can't emphasize this enough because the asking for the business is a step that lots of agents neglect to do. They either forget to do it or they just aren't sure what to do, how to do it. But, on average, in any sales, you have to ask for the business multiple times. Okay. And what you'll see agents do is they'll go out and they'll give a really good presentation and they'll show what they think the property is worth with the comps. And then they will tell them, all right, well, I know you guys probably want to think on that, so you and your husband, you and your wife, you talk about that and let me know if you decide to hire me. Is that a good close?
No, but if they've already invited you over or just they're making the appointment, don't you think they've already kind of crossed that bridge a little bit to wanting to list? Like they're there.
But they want to list, but we still need to ask them to list with us.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, with my background, asking for the sale is the number one thing that sellers miss every single time.
Yeah. And so specifically ask, is there anything you have not heard today that would keep you from wanting to list from me? Put it out there. If you like what you heard today, can we go ahead and get the paperwork taken care of? There's 100 ways that you could close and have 2, 3, 4 of them at your disposal. because you may need to use all of them. Okay. It's not just ask once and stop. It's ask for them to list with you. And then if they have an objection, present a solution and ask for the sale. And if they object, present a solution and ask for the business. That's the number one place where salespeople fail, is not asking for the business. So that is part of your presentation, and that is the conclusion to your presentation. And you can be very very direct and ask for the yes or no for the close. And one of the things that I love to do is just the assumptive close. I'm making my presentation. We're talking about pricing. I get agreement for them that they agree that that's what their home is worth. And I'll say, great, well, let's go ahead and get started. And I pull out the paperwork and I start filling it out. And then I explain to them what's on the paperwork and tell them, I just need you to sign right here. I never ask them if they want the business. I just assume I'm getting the business because I give a really good listing presentation. And that's the natural conclusion to the end of my presentation is we take the next step. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So now what I was talking about before about the trilogy, and boy, I made a typo on my presentation. So we're going to pretend for a moment that this says pre-listing presentation, listing presentation, and post-listing packet. Okay? Or pre-listing packet, listing presentation, post-listing packet. Okay? And what I mean by that, there's a lot of stuff that we have and we have access to that we may or may not want to share with our clients, right? And you've got to make a decision what belongs in there, okay? And I'll give you a really good example. If all we have is a listing presentation, okay, we don't have a pre-listing package, we don't have a post-listing package. How comfortable are you going to be reading to a potential client recommendations, reviews from past clients? Not, right? So, but would they find value in that?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely they would. So where would be a more natural place to put those reviews? Are you going to share with them after the presentation what other customers said how awesome you are?
Yeah, but what if you don't have any customers yet?
Well, and that's a yet question. So then you don't have to include it.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. This is really unique to every one of you. Okay. So, and let's kind of break these down because I just made a list of what are some of the things we might want to put in our presentation. What do we want our client to know, and where does it naturally belong? Okay, so if I were doing a pre-listing packet, okay, I'm still frustrated with myself that I didn't make that edit on my slide. An introduction that talks about who I am and how awesome I am would be better placed in a pre-listing package. It's really hard to be face-to-face with somebody and be patting yourself on the back, right? That's not a real comfortable place to be. And in that case, who's it all about? Me and not them. I want them to be the center of my story when I'm sitting down talking with them, okay? What about your referrals and reviews? Those are great things to put in that pre-listing package, right? What if I had a page of common things to do to get your home ready to sell? Would that be a good thing for them to get and review before I get to the property?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely it would. You know, what if their carpet is stained, or their walls dingy, or it smells like cat. Do I want that coming from me in the listing presentation?
No.
No. I'd really prefer to broach that subject before I've ever been to the property, so that if we do need to have a conversation about it, we've already started that conversation in the pre-listing packet. Does that make sense? Okay. I love in a pre-listing package to put a questionnaire in there. Okay. So what's the benefit of putting a questionnaire in the pre-listing package?
It will allow you to know what to, if they respond to it, it will allow you to know what to respond to when you go to that presentation, or kind of prepare you for what you're going to address.
Usually I'm not going to get the questionnaire until I get to the appointment. I'll have given it to them in the pre-listing package, and it tells them to please answer these things and have them ready for the listing appointment.
So what it will do is, if it will thoroughly tell you how that person is, if they're ready or resting on the fence, because that shows that they would have gone through it and they would have done their homework. If they have not, they're not probably ready to go with selling. They haven't fully made up their mind.
I know. It lets me know how engaged they are. That is a great answer, Sheikah. When I sit down at the kitchen table with them and they're like, hey, we got that questionnaire all filled out. Here it is. You know, what do I know? They're all in. They're ready to go. They're ready to move. And if they're like, no, we really didn't have time to that. We really wanted to talk to you first before we did any of that. What does that tell me I've got to do?
Got to really sell yourself.
I really got to sell myself. That is exactly right. Okay. And then you could choose to put the disclosures in the pre-listing package. So, you know, the community association disclosure and the seller's property disclosure, those take a little bit of time to fill out. And if you're able to get those to them before the appointment so they can get started on it, that can be a good time to share that. And you may come up with some other things that you want to put in that pre-listing presentation. Okay. But that's going to be personal to you. So explore that and think about, what would I want to know before I get to the appointment? What would I want to share with them before I ever sit down across the table from them? Okay. And one of the reasons that pre-listing package can be so helpful is one, it does give you that opportunity to go out and, when you drop off the packet, get a kind of a sneak peek at the outside of the house. So you kind of know what you're stepping into. That will help you when you go to pull your comp. So that's a benefit. Two, it's going to help save you time. Okay. If I'm able to do some of my selling ahead of time, that's going to be less time that I have to spend doing that with the customer. And when I go out to a listing presentation, how much time do they want to spend with me selling them? Do they want a 60-minute presentation? 90-minute presentation?
Probably what, 15 minutes?
I'd say 20 minutes for the presentation itself. You know, if they hire me, I'm probably going to be there for an hour doing my dual entry form, my listing presentation, doing all the paperwork is going to take me about another 30, 40 minutes. But just to do the presentation and go through the comps, if I can do that in 20, 25 minutes, I think that's a really healthy length of time. Okay. So what does that listing presentation really, what's it really about? Okay. That 15 or 20 minutes, what are the things that they're going to respond to the best to? So that middle list should say listing presentation. So who are you? So have a short bio on yourself, you know, that's relevant to real estate. Okay. But showcases the benefit to them. Okay. This isn't the pat on the back that you're giving yourself. Okay. what experience do you bring? What, you know, think about that question. Who are you? We're talking about as a real estate agent. When they hire you, are they just getting you, Jamie?
No,
No. Who else are they getting?
they're also getting everything you offer that Keller Williams has, kind of.
That is
Like,
exactly right. So when I ask that question, who are you? You know, keep in mind, I'm not just talking about you personally, but why would somebody want you? Okay. And if you don't want to think about that question that way, ask the second question. Why clients choose you? What is it that sets you apart? What makes you unique? But I still like that who are you question too, because there may be something unique that they don't know about or don't think about. You know, maybe you've got a background in interior design. Maybe you've got a background in construction, a background in marketing. Okay. Is that applicable in what we do?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Then we want to answer the question in there, what do we do for our clients? Okay. And for a seller, what's the number one thing that they want to know as far as what you do? How are you
They
going
want
to
to
market
know
your
how much
property?
you're going to get in their pocket.
Well, that's the question they want more than anything else, is how much money am I going to make? But I don't do that, right? I can't control how much money you get in your pocket, but I can control how I market your property to get the most number of people in there. Okay. So ask and answer these questions. So what do you do for your clients? And that could include how do you communicate with them? You know, what does negotiations look like? And then we're going to talk about the marketing plan. Okay. And in the example we're going to look at, you're going to see the marketing plan, how it's laid out, and you can pick and choose, do I include or not include? Because you've got to decide what's your marketing plan. Okay. You may or may not do 3D home tours. You may or may not do drone photography. You may or may not do staging. You may or may not do any number of things. Okay. There may be things you do that I don't do. Okay. I don't do Instagram. Okay. I know some of you do. I've seen it. So, and then the big conversation, pricing and value. Okay. And that's the biggest part of our presentation. That's the number one thing that they want to know. But if I haven't earned their trust, what are they going to think of my conversation around pricing and value?
It won't have any value because they don't trust you, or they don't feel confident in how you're pricing their home.
And so I can't just skip straight to let's talk about what your home is worth.
Mm-mm.
Okay. I have to have credibility with them. I have to be valid with them before it's gonna show up. So and the questions that I want you guys to think about as you're putting this together is, do you care about me? Okay. That's something your client wants to know. Okay. And can you help me? We need to showcase that. If we can do that, if I care about you and I can help you, are you going to be more inclined to listen to me? Yeah. Okay. And the natural conclusion to this meeting right here, that listing presentation, is they've now hired us. Okay. But I also don't want to, they just agreed to give you $10,000, right? Do I just walk out of their house and say, thank you, I'll talk to you soon?
No.
No. And that's where that post-listing packet kind of comes in, okay? It helps cement the relationship and gives the value. I've got my signed listing agreement, okay? But I want to add some value. I want them to feel really good about the decision that they just made with me. So I want to do several things with them, okay? I want to talk about now that you've hired me, here's some things for you to do and not to do. Okay. Here's what we need to do to make sure the home is ready to show. Okay. Here's what you can expect from me in terms of communication. Here's what you can expect as far as when pictures are going to take place, when the sign's going to go on the yard, when the lockbox is going to go in the door. You know, don't leave them guessing what comes next. Okay. And I can have these as conversations. Okay. But I don't, if I can put something in their hands, they will feel even better. Okay. The next one, it says GAR documents. What I'm talking about is the GAR brochures. If there's any brochures that are applicable, you know, how to protect yourself from lead in your home, how to protect yourself when selling a home, what buyers and sellers need to know about radon, those might be relevant to them. Okay. Have the ones that are relevant there to leave behind. And then your list of vendors, you know, can we be of help and support to them in their move? Might they need a good moving company? Might they need a good contractor? Chica, you're on 2 devices, I think. So we're getting a little feedback. So, all right. So does this make sense as far as what might go in any of these 3? So I could do this all in one. I can write one book, right? I can have just my listing presentation and I can put it all together. But I encourage you to think about maybe I have a trilogy, and maybe starting out I put it all together. But as I get a little more time to invest in building my presentation, you know, the thing I want you guys to think about is what do you need to do to have that Ritz-Carlton, Disney type experience? How do we wow our clients? You know, and especially when you're new, right? And you have all these fears around, you know, you don't have the experience or whatever. If I walk in and I have a fantastic listing presentation and I project well, I speak with confidence, I've got great material laid out, I tell a great story, I've got everything I need right there. Do you think they're thinking that this is your first time?
No,
Are they asking you, okay, well, how many homes did you sell in the last year?
no, they don't need to.
When do they ask those questions? When you're, you know, if you've got doubts, if you're not prepared, if you don't have something, that's when they're going to have doubts. If you own it, you have it, and it all looks beautiful, they're going to think you've been doing this for years, and they're not going to doubt you at all. Okay.
So do you know who has a good listing presentation to just watch? I've never actually seen one. And so I'm kind of not sure like how it go.
Yeah. And there's several members of our ALC
Mhm.
that would be happy for you to tag along and do a listing presentation. We have role played some here at the office. I don't know that we've got any that are recorded, but that's one of the things that we're talking about doing over the next couple of months is having some people in. But it's really funny because you guys tell us you really want to see somebody's listing presentation, and then we'll put it on the calendar that we're going to do a mock listing presentation and nobody shows up. So if you tell me you want it, I want to make sure you're going to be there.
Well, I tried to find it on that MAPS coaching, and I saw one on there, that Keller Williams, you know, MAPS thing. And I think it was a listing presentation, and I like went through it, but I don't know. I was just kind of confused.
And again, everybody's is different. One of our more experienced agents here in the office, Wayne Peters, his listing presentation is the GAR protect yourself when selling a home brochure. That's his presentation. So if you pull that out and you read it, it says, make sure you do this, make sure you do this, make sure you do this, make sure you do this. And he goes through that brochure and he explains how he helps his clients do every one of those things. That's his presentation. Now, is that my favorite presentation? No, you know, but it's worked for him for 20 years, you know. So, and I say that again, this is your business and your brand, you know, figure out what your story is and then put it together. And sit down, come visit other agents that you know that are exceptional agents. You know, Carolyn Carnes will be happy to show you her listing presentation. You know, I'm happy to share mine with you. Talk to Danny Emmett. You know, he'll share what's in his. I mean, there's a whole bunch of us. And as a matter of fact, I don't know anybody that would probably tell you no, that they won't show you what's in their listing presentation. So take a look, see what's in there. And there are some really good places to go to get some listing presentations. But you got to figure out, again, what's your story, what's your comfort level, okay? And we've got examples in Command. There are templates in Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, okay? There are other documents that our vendors have provided us with and that you can go get from vendors that would be things that you want to include in there. You know, for example, do you think it would be a good, you know, depending on where you start from, for a listing, is it important to talk about Keller Mortgage?
For a listing?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
A buyer presentation is, but
But
not
not,
a listing.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, what if I could list your home, Sheikah,
Well,
and
yeah.
market it as having special financing available, save thousands?
Okay.
That's something I can do that no other listing agent can do
To attract a buyer to buy your
to
home.
attract buyers,
Okay.
which is what you're, as a seller, that's what you're
Yeah.
hiring me to do, right?
Exactly.
So, and here's the thing, you know, what do buyers often ask of the sellers?
Assist with closing costs.
Assist with closing costs. Well, with Keller Mortgage, we're going to save them $5,000 or $6,000 on their closing costs. So guess what they're less likely to ask for?
Closing costs.
Closing costs. Is there value in that to a seller?
Yep.
There should be,
Yeah.
if we're telling the right story. Okay. Other things that vendors may have provided us with, Amerispec, for example, has a great flyer that they put together on for sellers to be prepared for a home inspection. That some of them are really simple things that you wouldn't necessarily think about. Go through your home and double check all the light bulbs. Because if an inspector comes to inspect the house and they flip a light switch and the light doesn't come on, do they go move light bulbs around to make sure the light works?
No, they don't care.
No. Well, it's not they don't care. That's they don't have time.
Okay.
But they're going to say that the light doesn't work. You know, that we need to do a little more research to find out why the light doesn't work.
What was the name of that company you just said?
Amerispec. Look in the coaching resource folder under the vendor resources in
Okay.
the Amerispec folder. I've got that flyer in there for you. Okay. And then you may have some pages that they just don't exist out there, that you'll need to create yourself to tell the story you're wanting to tell. Okay. And in designs, in PowerPoint or Publisher, you've got the ability to create those and duplicate that. Okay. So, and that's what I wanted to do next, was to make sure you guys knew where those resources were. So I want to take you into Command and show you where the listing presentation is. and let's go through one and let's look and see if some of those components that we've been talking about are in there. So when we come in and we go to designs, and is my screen still shared?
No.
No.
Let me go back to share my screen. All right. So I'm in designs inside command. We're going to go to add a design. I want print and next. That's going to take me to our all of our templates now. Now that we're in our templates, if we go to listings, you'll see listing presentation. Click on that. We have 5 different versions of the listing presentation in here as templates. So let's say that I like the look of this one. I'm going to try and use it. And you're going to see really quickly there's some of the stuff that I don't want in there. Do I want a cover page that says listing presentation template? Probably not, but I can go in and I can edit this, right? And I can decide whether I want to add this page or not to my presentation, okay? If I want this to be part of my presentation, I click on the add that as a page, okay? If it's over here, it's not necessarily part of my presentation. I need it over here. You'll see right now my presentation is 1 of 1 pages, okay? So I want that as my cover sheet, or maybe I don't. Maybe I want this page as my cover sheet, where I can put a picture of the home and put the client's name in here. I've got all my branding on there. Does that make a nice cover sheet?
Oh, it does. So you can save that and then just go in and change it each time? Like, okay.
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly right. Okay. Then we have a itinerary. I don't necessarily need a table of contents for it, so I'm probably not adding that page. You may want to. Okay. Their presentation starts out with talking about their property and comparable properties. And you may like that scenario, okay? And again, it's the story you want to tell. But in my experience, what's the one thing a client wants to know more than anything else?
How much their home is worth.
How much my home is worth. And if I tell you that very first thing and you don't agree with me, how close are you listening to the rest of the presentation?
I won't listening.
Yeah, you're not even paying attention.
Out of 5.
So for me, the comps and the value are the very last thing we talked about. I build my value first, then I talk about what's the difference between price and value and how does price and value work. Then we look at the marketplace. We come to an agreement on what the market says your home is worth, and then we sign the paperwork. You know, it's kind of a natural progression, but that's the story that I tell. Your story may be a little bit differently, and there may be a great script that starts with the pricing. I just don't know what it is, okay? You may see things a little bit different, but I do love this page. Your needs come first, okay? And whatever the content, because who did we say the hero of our story was? Our client.
Yeah.
Okay, this starts it out. Here's what the home selling process looks like. Okay, the initial meeting, walkthrough, and needs analysis. That's what we're doing today. You know, and if today goes really well, the next step's going to be at the end of the day, we're going to sign a listing agreement. Okay, and I have a story to talk about through this. Okay, and I may need to change a couple of these, and some of these may be a little bit different here in Georgia, because do we talk about escrow? No.
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 We talk about due diligence, okay? So there's some verbiage that gets used differently in different areas that we may need to go through and edit. Okay. Your custom marketing plan, is that important?
Very.
Very.
Yeah. I think that belongs in there. So finding your buyer, best in class promotional assets. Okay. I may like some of these pages and not others. I can pick and choose. And I'll show you guys mine in a minute. Open house strategies. Okay. It's in the details. Then they talk about why them. Okay. So how many years in business, total clients served, repeat. You may not have this story to tell. Okay. And if you don't have this story to tell, whose story do you tell?
The Keller Williams story.
Tell Keller Williams' story. Absolutely. Talk about how impressive we are in our marketplace. And we can give you some stuff in there. There's pages in here for credentials and awards, leading in the industry, other properties I have for sale, featured listings. So see, there's a lot of these pages, they're not me, and they're not going to fit for me. They may be for you. So you pick and choose which pages work and rearrange them in the order that you want. Here's my promise to you. Okay. So that's a great page. Guidance on selling safely. Okay. In today's market, virtual showings and socially distant tours, that may be really important. Okay. There's another page that would be showing safely that I think is a really important page, or at least a conversation to have with your clients. Do they need to know to put guns and prescription drugs and valuables away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay. So keep that in mind. That may be a page that you want to put in your post listing packet. Okay. My app, where you've got buyer guides in there, and then it all repeats again in case you want to use another page to edit it. Okay. So that's just one example. Every one of these is a little bit different. And then in Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, they have some really cool stuff. Where's our coaching resource folder? Michael Lewis Marketing Suite. So let me show you what this vertical, what this one looks like. Some are more graphic and some more words and less graphics.
When you post the home onto FMLS and Georgia MLS, it automatically goes into the Keller Williams.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. Okay. So here's another take on a listing presentation. And you're going to see there's some things that are very similar. Some are going to be very different. So we start out with our cover page, prepared for our client, their picture of their home, who it was prepared by. Look at what they start talking about. This is your personal message to your client and your bio. Okay. That seems a little more natural. People kind of want to know me before I start talking about what their home is worth. Then they go into talking about their marketing strategy. The most important thing they want to know, how are you going to get my home sold? Okay. I think you could put a little more credibility stuff up here, put some stats up here, put some Keller Williams stuff up here, and I'll show you in mine what I did. But then it starts going through our marketing strategy. And I took out all my cover pages. So I just go straight from talking one subject into talking about marketing. And you'll see that when I show you mine. But they've got it broken apart. Professional photography, print media, property flyers. And one of the things that I did is I used some of these pages or some of these ideas, but instead of using a generic property flyer, I put one of my flyers in there. so they know what to expect. Instead of just talking about professional photography, I put photos that my photographer took of one of my listings in there. Okay. That way, this isn't a, here's what it could be. Here's what mine really look like. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And you can do that with yours, but you may not have one yet. I went and stole other graphics. This one's not mine, but it's talking about our app, internet marketing, website exposure, social media, individual property websites, open houses. Then it went to why Keller Williams, which seemed a little odd. This to me went back with the why me, right? I would have done why me, why Keller Williams, and then my marketing plan,
Mhm.
which is what I did. Okay. But this was my basis. But I also don't need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages on why Keller Williams. That's a little overkill, right?
They're just a little.
Just a little bit. Okay. But then they started talking about marketing statistics and how buyers find properties. Okay. That to me would belong before I talk about my marketing plan.
Mhm.
Here's how buyers shop for properties. Here's what I do to make sure they can find yours. So again, there's lots of great information in here. It's just not always in the best order to tell the best story. Okay. And so go through these, play with them. Then we get into the pricing conversation, but there's really 2 conversations we have to have. We have to have a value conversation and a pricing conversation. And so that's part of the story I talk about. But they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages on how to price a property right. Little overkill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Little overkill. Okay. We don't need a 38-page presentation. Okay. We can pare that back a little bit. So I'm going to show you really quickly what my presentation looks like from my company. If I can find it. So ours starts out with, here's our team. Here's who we align ourselves with and why. Okay. A few of our accomplishments and how well we do in the marketplace. Then I go into our marketing plan. And the way I've created our page is on this page, the things that are listed here, we do that for every seller. Okay. So I'm always going to have this page in my presentation. Okay. And then I have pages that follow that support this, either giving more information with what's on here or adding other things to it. For example, extended market reach. This is what KWLS does, is it pushes it out to other websites. I've got in here postcard marketing. Now, do I do just listed postcards for every property?
Mm.
No.
No. If it's not in my farm where I'm really trying to build my business, I don't do postcards. So I have this as a separate page. So if it's not in the right location, that page just comes out and is no longer part of my presentation. Then we have social media. Do I do social media for everybody? Yes. What about professional photography? Well, I do if it's over $125,000. I'm not going to spend the money on a $60,000 listing. Okay. Doesn't have to be really nice for me to do professional photography, but there is a minimum. Open houses. Do I do open houses for every business, for every home? Well, if it's a home I don't think shows well or would benefit from an open house, we don't do open houses. Okay. If it's too far away or I don't think I'm going to be able to find somebody to host that open house, we don't do open houses. Then our property flyers. Do I do property flyers for everybody? Yeah, glad to do that for anybody. Okay. And then we go into pricing. Okay. And I talk about value here. What determines value? And then I talk about how do you price it based on value. And I have that two-way conversation. And so I have 3 pages that talk about value and price. And then what do we look at? Comps. You know, now that we understand how value and price are related to each other, let's take a look at what's going on in the marketplace. Okay. It's just a natural flow and a progression of the conversation. Does that make sense to everybody?
Mhm.
Okay. But this was created based off of one of the templates, and I stole a whole bunch of these graphics from Michael Lewis Marketing Suite. And so go pull information from wherever. If you're like, wow, that's great, that belongs in my presentation, put it in there. There aren't hard, fast rules that this absolutely belongs and this absolutely doesn't. You want to figure out your story. Okay. And how do we get my slide back up? There we go. All right. So now you guys know a few places to go to get your resources. The thing I want you to do is get it put together and then practice, practice, practice. Okay. You need to know your presentation well enough that you can give it upside down. Okay. So practice with the mirror, practice with a friend or a partner. Okay. And call some of your friends that maybe aren't even interested in selling and say, hey, listen, I just completely redid my listing presentation and it's all new and I need to practice it. And I would so appreciate your getting your feedback on what you think about my listing presentation. Could I come out and spend 30 minutes with you and show you what I'm going to be doing on my listing appointments? Okay. Are your friends going to be okay with that?
Of
Yep.
course, yes.
Nosy.
Yeah, absolutely they will. And you get to show them now how impressive you are, right? So, and you go make that presentation and they see how impressive you are. Are they more likely to use you when the time comes?
Yes.
Yeah. Are
And
they more
refer you.
likely to refer you?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Definitely. Now they know when they refer you, this is what their friends are going to get. Okay. So, and guys, that's it. That's everything I had planned today. We've got 2 minutes left for questions and answers. How did I do today?
That was good.
Does that help you? Is it a little less intimidating?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know where to go or where to start. So now I feel like I have a starting point.
Yeah. So Command and Michael Lewis Marketing Suite, both of those are great places to start from. And then if you can't find what you're looking for, get with me. If you're looking for, is there a page out there? Does somebody talk about this? I can help you find something else. You need market stats from the office, get with me. I'll help you find it.
Would
Okay.
you, I mean, can we like show it to you and then like, can you tweak it or like tell us, no, you don't need that, or maybe you should add this? Okay, good.
Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. I love grabbing my red Sharpie and marking them up. I get to play school teacher for a little while.
Good, good.
I'm not sure I like that part.
I'm pretty nice about it.
Trey, I have a question.
Yeah. Lena.
How do you bind it up? Do you just leave it loose? Are the pages numbered? Do you put it in
That is such a great question. So I went and bought really nice Keller Williams folders. Okay. Now you can
Right.
go buy the clear binders and use those at Walmart until you want to get some of these. but there's lots of printers out there that put these together. And I'll talk about this more in 2 weeks when we have the getting ready for your listing presentation. So now we got it created. Now we're getting ready for the appointment. And part of that class is what all do I want to put in here? Because I put more than just my listing presentation in here.
Got it.
So I'll have my listing presentation, but I've also got all my comps. I've got my listing agreement, my dual entry form, my seller's disclosures. All of that stuff is stuff that goes with me to my appointment.
Okay.
Okay. And
Okay.
we'll talk about gathering together everything you want to take with you. But just a really nice folder like this is all you need, because when I give that presentation, I want to be able to take it out and put it across from them and easily be able to flip pages.
Got it.
If I hard bind it, that may not be easy to flip in the same way. And I'm still old school.
Mm-hmm.
I like ink on paper. There are some people
Yeah.
that like the digital versions, okay? But there's a couple of handicaps to the digital version, okay? My version right here, the battery has never gone dead, okay? So I've never not had Wi-Fi affect my listing presentation having this, okay? So that's one. Two, that's easy for me to leave behind, okay?
Mhm.
So they've got a reminder, and it sits on the table. It sits on the counter. They see it over and over again. Even if I email them a digital presentation for them to go back to, when do they see it?
Mhm.
You know,
When they log on.
only when they log on.
Mhm.
And if there's mama and daddy, are they logging on together?
No.
No. But they can pull that out and sit down and go through that together and have a conversation about it together.
Right.
So I personally speaking, I still love the ink on paper version.
So you referenced a training session we should attend or log on to.
That's
You just
the next PC workshop that's
Oh, okay.
on the 28th from 2
maybe?
to 3, getting ready for
Okay.
your listing appointment.
Okay.
Okay. Well, guys, I've got a 4 o'clock appointment I've got to get to. Y'all have been fantastic. Hope you guys got a lot of value out of today. And we'll see y'all tomorrow morning for team meeting.
Wait, not tomorrow. How about
Or
that's Wednesday.
Tuesday.
No, tomorrow's Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow for group coaching and Ignite for those that are in Ignite.
Thanks, Trey.
Awesome,
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
You too.
Oops. Trying to leave.